Welcome. This is our third class in this series, and I just wanted to share with you an insight that one of us, our fellow yogis, shared with me this week. And she was pointing out that while she was enjoying the movement of these asana, she was finding the holds uncomfortable. And that's because she, at the moment, is feeling more comfortable with the movement. So when I'm putting these classes together, don't forget I am estimating or guesstimating an average fit for the average person. But none of us are average. None of us are average. Each of us is different. So if you feel that you don't wish to hold the pose, then of course you don't have to. You can keep the movement going throughout the practice. The holds are there, or I might suggest holds, although there will be less holding today. But if you don't feel comfortable with the holds, then don't hold. Continue to move. If you need to stay still, just in a standing or resting position, then that's absolutely fine too. The important thing is that she was listening to her body and questioned. And that's great news. That's great news that she was listening to the body, and I hope that you do too. So whatever you feel like, whether you need more of a stretch, you know how to extend these stretches further. If you need less of a stretch, then you know how to modify these things so that they're not uncomfortable for you. And please, if you're unsure or you need a bit of encouragement, or you're feeling a little bit lost with the practice, then please make me useful and let me know. Okay, so we're going to start with a standing moving practice. So first thing you need to do is make a bit of space, roll out your mat, take your socks off. So we begin standing with our feet about hip width apart, which may be closer than you feel. And obviously the closer your feet are, the more challenging the balance. So if you'd like your feet a bit wider, then go right ahead. And then secondly, just take a moment here, just to make sure there's no unnecessary tension in the body, particularly in the thigh muscles. Try not to lock the knees. So you've got soft knees, arms heavy hanging at the sides, and possibly bringing the chin to the throat a little bit, just so you're gazing at the floor, or perhaps you'd rather have your eyes closed. And I'm going to begin this practice by finding a breath. Generating, if you can, that soft sighing sound in the throat by picking up the ujjayi breath, smoothing that breath through that slightly narrowed throat. And then we're going to put the smallest of movements together with that breath. So on the next breath in, lift up your chin. Following that breath in, notice here how you're lengthening and opening the throat. And as you breathe out, follow that breath out, bringing your chin down. Trying to minimize the transfer of weight from the backs to the fronts of the feet. Using the in-breath, lifting the throat, the collarbones. And as you breathe out, bringing the chin down. And of course, not moving when your breath isn't moving. Using the Ujjayi breath. And trying to keep all of the movement within the frame of the breath. And noticing how that simple movement of bringing the chin down folds the throat. So when you have your chin down, we have what's called the chin lock or the throat bander. One more time. And when you're next breathing in, bring your head to what you feel is neutral, gazing at the floor. Whenever you're ready, next breath or two, no stiffness, no pointed or rigid fingers, nothing rigid about the human body. So taking a breath in and lift your arms, arms floating away, all the way up into the stretch, eyes lifting, hands lifting, and exhale. Bring the chin down, the eyes down and the arms down. So we're quite literally going with the flow, following the rhythm of the breath. Inhaling, feel the back muscles active as you lift your chin, your arms, the rib cage. Waiting for the breath to move before you begin that movement, and staying still when your breath is still. And just remind yourselves as yogis that every time we lift our arms, we're opening the ribcage, welcoming that breath in, making space for the breath. And as we breathe out, we turn that prana to strength through the legs, through the soles of your feet, into the floor. If your arms don't feel heavy, if that lift is effortless, then you may want to hold this stretch, keeping that same rhythm of the breath. But you don't have to. You can go with the flow. If you wish to limit how far you bend forward, then you can be standing in front of a chair or a stool or a couple of blocks. Soft knees, chin down so you see where you're going, and you exhale, next breath out all the way into the bend. Gazing at its conclusion between or at the knees. Wait for the breath to lift you, soft knees. Balancing the weight in your feet, coming all the way back up to your stretch. And wait for the breath to carry you down. So here we notice that the movement of the body on the exhale begins to deepen the breath out. As you fold forward, the abdomen moves towards the spine, the diaphragm presses up underneath the lungs. So that upward facing stretch, enabling a better breath in. And the forward fold, enabling the better breath out. Not moving when your breath isn't moving. Trying to keep steady by balancing the weight in your feet. Eyes up towards the ceiling at the peak of the in-breath. And may the eyes towards the navel when you conclude your forward fold. And if you wish to hold the forward fold, then please do. Adjusting to suit, to enable a better breath in, and deepening the stretch on the breath out. So that even if we're holding the pose, we're never entirely still. And this fold in the belly, under the rib cage at the solar plexus, is another of those bandhas. So now we have the belly lock and the chin lock. And if you held the pose in the next breath or so, inhale, lift all the way back up. And as you exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Come back to neutral. And at the front end of your mat, take a step back with the left leg. Your feet can be wider than hips. Take a moment here just to settle your footprints. Stabilize the pelvis, neither twisted or tilted. You can continue to take your arms to the sides if that's what's comfortable for your shoulders. Or if you prefer, you can lift your arms in front of you. Inhaling up to the stretch Lift the eyes, the chin and the chest, and wait for the out breath. Keep the head between the arms as you fold forward. Looking where you're going, softening that knee in front if you need to, or bending only halfway to a chair. Inhale. Up, receiving the prana. And exhale as you fold forward. Maybe stretching those arms further away from you to deepen the stretch. Softening the knee. Keep the back foot pressing down. Floating up on your breath in. Fold on the breath out. Eyes towards the ceiling. As you stretch upwards, making space for that prana. And as you bring your front body forward, chin to the throat, gazing towards the navel at the conclusion of that breath. And here you may be aware of the pelvic floor starting to engage, the Mula Bandha. Nothing rigid. So again, if you wish to hold the stretch, you can, adjusting to enable the breath. Or you can keep moving, going with the flow. Prana from above, and converting that prana into strength through the pelvis, through the leg bones, through the soles of your feet, into the floor. Not moving when your breath isn't moving. And if you're still holding, on the next inhale, come back to your upward stretch. Bring your arms back to the chest and step forward. Just take a moment for the body to settle, for your footprints to steady, for the heartbeat to steady. Gazing down towards the fingertips, letting the shoulders drop away from the ears. And let's stretch the left side. Step back with the right foot. Steady the pelvis, balance the footprints, soften the knees. Follow your hands up with the chest and the eyes, breathing in. Receive prana from above. Look where you're going, chin down, stretch forward. On your exhale, soften that knee. Chin to the throat. That'll learn me for closing the eyes. Eyes towards the ceiling, breathing in. And eyes towards the navel on your exhale. Again, if you wish to hold, please do. You don't have to be touching the floor. You could have your hands on blocks or the seat of a chair. Make a bit more space on that breath in. So you take a better breath in. And notice the action of the pelvic floor as you finish that exhale. Feel the Mula Bandha. Starting to help you finish that breath. And when you're ready, those of you holding, you could take a hitch right on the in-breath, come all the way back up. Hands to the heart as you exhale. So you focus on the chest, on the midline, and step that right foot forward. And here we wait for the balance in the footprints, for the heartbeat to settle. So having stretched the muscles in the back and the muscles around the hips, take a wide stride. And here we're going to do our twisting bends. Feet facing forward, so maybe moving the heels farther apart so the outside edges of your feet are parallel. And take a breath in, lifting the chest, stretch between the fingers. And then left hand to the right foot or ankle on the exhale. So we twist and then fold. On the in-breath, lift up, back to your neutral position. Stretch between the fingers, lifting the chest. Right hand to left foot or ankle on the exhale. Again, you don't have to reach the foot or the ankle. You might want to bend that knee that one you're stretching towards. Following the breath in. Using the exhale to twist and then fold. So here we're twisting and then folding. And to keep equal weight in both feet, look at the action in the pelvic floor. Notice at the conclusion of the breath out, that Mula Bandha, the pelvic floor is lifting the inner thighs. And if you wanted to hold the pose, then of course you could. Next time you have your left hand to the right foot or ankle, perhaps choose to hold If you wanted to keep moving, you could make it a little more strenuous by looking up towards the ceiling on that breath out. If you're holding, maybe in the next breath or two, time to come back up to neutral. And take that twist to the other side, right hand to left foot or ankle. And in the next breath or two, find yourself back in that neutral position. And then you can bring the hands to the heart, shoulders resting, focusing on the heartbeat, midline of the body, and stepping the feet together. So again, if your shoulders are finding this difficult, lifting your arms, you don't have to lift your arms in front of you. You can lift your arms to the side. We're going to go into a forward bend and then into Ardha Uttanasana a few times. So you don't need to bend as far as the floor, and you can certainly soften the backs of the knees to make it more comfortable. Inhaling, lifting the chest, eyes, hands. Soft knees, chin down, all the way into your Uttanasana, standing forward bend. On an inhale, lift the chin, rise up to the fingertips. Breathing in, exhaling, folding. So making space for the breath in, lengthening the spine, pressing the chest and chin forward. And as you exhale, feel those three bandhas, lifting the inner thighs, applying the Mula Bandha. Feel the belly rise, applying the middle bandha, and the chin throat bandha as you bring your chin to the throat. Where are those three bandhas working? Pelvic floor lifting, abdomen lifting, throat closing. Releasing on the inhale to make space for that breath. And then when you're ready, next exhale, stay in the fold, soften the knees, hands down. If you can't reach the floor, use blocks or a chair. And slowly and gently bring your heels down towards, your hips down towards your heels, so you're in a squat on your toes. Look up. Take a breath in. Press the chest forward. And as you exhale, a bit of weight into the hands, lift the hips, straightening out the legs, back to standing forward bend, Uttanasana. Inhaling, release the knees, back into your squat, look up. Exhale as you press the hands down, reach with the heels for the floor, lifting the pelvic floor. And the next breath out, back to that forward bend. And from here, come as gently as possible down to your hands and knees. Maybe take your knees wider if that's comfortable. Put something under the shins if that's comfortable or necessary. Something between the hips and the heels, so you can transfer weight into the sit bones. And then allow the front body to come down, chest towards the thighs, forehead to the floor. And you can park your hands wherever they are comfortable, palms up, elbows heavy. And giving into gravity, so that you and your breath can rest. And from here, in as easy and gentle a way as possible, bring yourself so that you're belly down on your mat, so that we can prepare for Cobra. So we're going to start the practice belly on the floor, feet about hip width apart, toes pointed away if you can. Put something in underneath the shins if this isn't possible. And start with the hands one on top of the other and the face turned to the side so the temple is resting on the back of the hands. And just notice that natural rise and the fall of the chest, relaxing any tension in the head, jaw, shoulders. And just letting the breath settle. face is turned to the left, like mine is, having the right hand under the temple, on top of the left hand. And when we lift the head, we're going to keep the head turned to the left and lift the right arm. So the elbow as well as the hand is going to come off the floor, and your hand is going to stay glued to the temple. So active legs, maybe press the top of the feet or the shin bones into the floor. Feel the belly lift as you exhale. And on the inhale, lift the right arm and your head. Exhale, come down. Lifting the belly. Inhale, float up. And exhale, lower. Stop moving when the breath isn't moving. You may find your in-breath is shortened here. Notice the muscles you're using around the shoulder and in the sides to lift that right elbow. And when they come down next time, you can pick up your head, you can swap your hands over so your left hand is on top of the right and you have your left temple parked on the left hand. Wait for the breath to steady. Extending the legs away from you. Press the tops of the feet into the floor. Lift the belly on the exhale. And as you inhale, lift your left arm. One more time. And then relax. Forehead on the back of the hand so the neck is in line with the spine. Let the shoulders settle. Heels flopping out. Just taking a few breaths here, waiting for the body and the breath to settle. You may want to bring your elbows back so you help yourself shuffle the shoulders away from the ears. And maybe bring the hands a little closer to you so the shoulders are already lifting. Bring the feet together, active legs so the tops of the feet are pressing down, or the shin bones pressing into the support. And we're going to lift the head away from the hands. Breathing in. Forehead down, breathing out. Inhaling, coming up. And exhaling, coming down. You may already have been doing it, but if your head feels light today, you could use your eyes up to the ceiling, breathing in. Exhale, chin to the throat. Follow the breath. Belly away from the floor on the exhale. Inhale. Into the pose we call Cobra. And the next time we come down, turn your face to the side. If you don't need your hands to support the head to make it comfortable, you can have your hands, backs of the hands on the floor by your thighs. Elbows flopping down. Shoulders rolling forward. And rest. And even though we're still, the natural movement of the body as we breathe causes a ripple through the spine. And then if you have your face turned to the side, next inhale, lift the head. Shoulders come up and back, and you turn the chin and bring yourself down on the next breath out. And again, we're just going to take a few breaths here to rest. Feeling that wave of movement traveling up and down the spine just by breathing. And whenever you are ready from here, you can either hands under the shoulders, fold yourself back to child pose. Or some of you don't like child pose, which is absolutely fine. In that case, you can roll over gently, slowly, and hug your knees into the chest. And any kind of movement you may want to make if you're lying back to floor, please do. And if you're in child pose, make your child pose as comfortable as possible. I've taken my knees a bit wider in this instance so I can rest my arm bones on my knees. So I've got room for the front body to breathe a bit more in this version of child pose. You might want something on the floor if your head is hanging. And that gentle pressure on the forehead if you're in child pose is also useful. It helps to relax the muscles in the face. You might notice your mouth watering or your eyes watering. As that pressure also stimulates the glands in the face, the salivary glands. And then whenever you are ready, if you're back to floor, please move slowly and gently. And those of you on your hands and knees, you can put your hands in front of the knees. Use your arms to help you lift the front body. And then find yourself a comfortable position on the hands and knees. If you don't like having the weight in your hands, you can adjust the mat, maybe roll the mat up so it's a little mound for you to roll your hands over. Or you can use hand wedges, or you might want to do away with the hands altogether and be on your elbows, forearms. So steadying the hands so that they are shoulder width apart, under the shoulders, spreading the weight down the fingers and all the way down the shin bones to the tops of your feet. And notice how pressing the feet down helps you lift that mula bandha, that lift in the pelvic floor. So on the inhale then, release the pressure from the toes. Start at the tailbone. Work your way up the spine, following that natural wave of movement in the spine as you breathe in. And as you exhale again, start with the navel, drawing the navel upwards, lifting the pelvic floor. Press down the tops of your feet, chin to throat. Throat bandha. Releasing, making room for the breath into Bittilasana. And exhaling into Marjarasana. Cow's eyes up towards the ceiling. Cat's eyes gazing at the navel. Using all three bandhas at the end of that out-breath, lifting the pelvic floor, the navel, folding the throat. You can start to put some back and forward movement in it. Eyes up, chin forward on the inhale, shoulders over hands, and exhale as you fall back. Wait for the breath, come forward, making room for the breath, lift the chin, lift the eyes. Breathing out, folding back. And in the next breath or two, and if you can't find a comfortable child pose to rest in, then by all means you can stretch out. You might want to roll onto your back, but those of you who can, you can linger a little longer in your child pose. If you feel an urge to make some movements with the hands, the wrist, the fingers, please do. And again, we just take a few breaths here. Letting everything settle. And from here, if you are not already back to floor, if you're in child pose, you can stretch out and roll over onto your back. And so back to floor now. Settling the back print into the floor, and with the arms and legs raised above the torso, it allows the spine to settle. Takes any tension out of the lumbar spine. You might want to draw the chin, making micro movements with the head from side to side, drawing the chin down to lengthen the back of the neck. And then just take a couple of breaths here, feeling that contact with the back body and the floor. You might want to let your knees drop a little wider, maybe bringing the feet a little closer together. And then we're going to create some movement in the spine by tilting the pelvis. So next breath in, as you feel the belly start to rise, press the knees gently forwards and you'll feel the pelvis tilt, lifting the bones off the floor. And as you breathe out and you draw the navel towards the spine, you feel the back gently flatten as the knees move closer to the chest, soften the arms. So pressure, kneecaps into the fingers as you breathe in, lengthen the arms and you feel the spine lifting. And waiting for the breath out to create that lift in the pelvic floor, in the abdominals. And that in turn lengthens the spine into the mat beneath you. Not moving if the breath isn't moving. Next time you're breathing in, you can let your arms float up, let your feet drop down closer to the floor. Exhale, bring the hands to the knees, knees to hands. Arms up and back, knees away, feeling the spine lift. Exhale, hands to knees. Careful not to let your feet come too close to the ground, causing any discomfort in the lower back. And using the weight of the arms and legs to enhance that lift of the spine. And using your Mula Bandha and the abdominals. Inhaling, increasing the distance between your hands and your knees. Exhaling, back to the floor. And one more time. And again, we come to that resting position, hands on the knees, arms and legs above the torso. And again, take a moment to adjust your neck if need be, micro movements side to side, drawing the chin to the throat. And then as gently as possible, so that you don't disturb the spine, lower your left foot to the floor. Hands in front of the shin bone. Maybe you want to clasp your fingers, knit your fingers together. And as you exhale, draw that knee to the chest. As you inhale, press the knee forward. Maybe next time you exhale, you could pick up your head, bring the chin, nose or forward, chin, nose or forehead forward towards the knee. Inhale, knee away, head right down to the floor. Exhaling. Using that left foot, I've got my left foot on the floor to help keep the pelvis steady, so you're preventing yourself from twisting or rolling to the side. You don't have to keep lifting the head if it starts to feel heavy. One more time. And once your head is lowered, you can release that right leg, park that right foot on the floor. Arms beside the body, micro adjusting the neck. Take a moment. Feel the effect and the sensations of that stretch on the right side of your body. And then pick up the left foot, knee to the chest. Try not to roll to the left. Clasp the hands in front of the shin bone. So starting from a balanced back print, inhaling, press that knee forward. Exhale, nose to knee. Inhale all the way back. Exhaling, chin, nose or forehead, closer to your knee. Again, avoid going anywhere where the breath feels trembly or shaky. Heads are heavy, so if you don't want to lift the head, you don't have to. Unfold to receive that inhale and turn that prana into strength on the exhale. One more time. And in the next breath or two, you can park your head again. Park that left foot on the floor and the hands away from the body so the elbows aren't too close to you. You're not restricting your breath in any way. And we'll just rest and let the shoulders and arms settle. Find balance in the back of the pelvis, in the footprints. Leave the knees bent so the knees are at the looking at the ceiling and your footprints are on the floor. So if you've got any issues with the knees, maybe you're concerned about the knees, you don't have to lift your hips off the ground. But for those of you who want to, you can bring your feet back, hip width, again not too close, otherwise it becomes a little unsteady. Press the feet into the floor, arms beside the body, palms down. And as you breathe in, lift the arms, press the knees forward, lifting the hips away from the floor, create a bit of space between you and the mat. Allowing the front body to expand into the space, and as you breathe out and you roll down the spine, you're bringing your hands back gently to the floor. Try not to run out of breath before you finish the movement. Waiting for the next breath in. Opening the front body, trying to keep the thighs parallel. And waiting for the breath to bring you down again. So again, you don't want to go anywhere that makes the breath a strain. So as soon as the breath stops moving, make sure that you are still. Up and into what we call bridge pose as you're breathing in, making room for that breath. And notice the action of the abdominals and of the pelvic floor as you breathe out and lower the pelvis. One more time. And if you're comfortable with the weight of your legs, then the next time you're breathing out and bringing your hands back to the floor, maybe once the tail is down, you can lift your knees and bring your hands to your knees. Inhaling, toes down, heels down, lifting the hips, arms up and back. Exhale, roll down the spine, lift the knees, hands to knees. Inhale, knees move away from hands, toes down, heels down, lift the hips. Hands resting on the floor behind you. Exhale, roll down the spine, tail down, lift the feet, hands to knees. Finish the breath out. Inhaling, knees move away from hands, toes down, heels down, lift the hips. Finish that breath in. Breathe out. All the way down, hands to knees. Take it at your own pace. We're going to do this movement 3 more times. And next time you have your hands at the knees, relax any unnecessary tension in the arms, the shoulders, micro adjust the head, relax the feet. We'll just stay here. Allowing the spine to settle. And then very gently and slowly, once you've got your breath and the spine comfortable, lower your feet to the floor, one at a time, to create minimum disturbance. Arms away from the body, palms up. And then because we did a bit of lifting the head and into bridge pose, whenever you're ready, you can put some movement in the neck by maybe exhaling, rolling your chin towards one shoulder. Wait for the breath in to bring your head back to the center. Keeping that head heavy and respecting the natural flow of the breath. So if your breath isn't moving, neither are you. This is an ideal time to release any tension in the face, around the eyes and in the jaw. So if you started this movement with a turn to the right, finish with a turn to the left, or vice versa. And again, when you come back to neutral, there's no hurry. You might want to micro adjust the neck, moving into that space you've just created. And just checking in with your breathing now as we come to the end of our practice. Watching the natural flow of the breath. And noticing that although we're still to the outside eye, there's plenty of movement in the body. Nothing is rigid. Have a sense that we are being breathed. And then whenever you are ready, any movements that you make, they need to be gentle. So if you want to adjust your current position to Shavasana, then of course you can. You can put something behind the thighs if having the legs long is not comfortable for you. You might also want to add layers or a pair of socks. Use an eye pillow if the light is bright in the room. And a blanket to keep you warm. Whatever you need so that you can relax and do absolutely nothing. Allow yourself to be for a few moments in Shavasana. With the body in Shavasana, we have an opportunity to rest completely. We can give in the weight of the body into the floor, becoming aware of the force of gravity, becoming aware of the contact with the back of our body on the floor. You might even be able to enlist your imagination, imagining that you are lying on warm sand, and you can feel the sand beneath you moulding to the shape of your body. And whilst we needn't be perfectly comfortable, we just check that we're as comfortable as we can be. If you haven't done so, you might also want to take this moment just to acknowledge the support from the earth. So having worked in the practice, mind and body and breath working together, mind and body and breath, now happy to rest together. No effort in the body, to be still. No effort with the breath. And no effort with the mind. And we have this gift, this opportunity, just to remind ourselves that peace is not something that we need to seek. It's not out there somewhere waiting for us to find it. That is already within us. And in this moment of peace, we can tune into and acknowledge the sensations of life in the body. What does life feel like today? Know that as we lie here, resting, being breathed, gazing inwards, we have everything we need. Every breath brings us fresh prana. Every exhale, we're releasing. So every breath is an act of receiving and giving. Giving up strength into the floor as you exhale. And welcoming prana on the inhale. And the more we open our hearts to this giving and receiving, the more we can release, the more space there is for the next breath. The more peace we find in our heart, the more we can appreciate this gift of life. This gift of life comes with us on the prana, comes to us on the prana. As we receive it and give it, let that prana flow, let that life flow through you. Just as that life force flows through every other living thing that we share this planet with. We have this moment just to wonder at this miracle of life, knowing that we are part of Mother Nature's perfection. And the earth that's supporting you, we share with every other planet, every other creature. Sustained and supported by the earth, fueled by the prana in the breath, experiencing the sensation of life. Using this opportunity at the end of our practice for a short while to be a human being rather than a human doing. Enjoy this moment. Notice how everything here is in balance. Not wasting anything. Not taking more than we need. Inviting peace into our hearts. And at this moment, from my heart to yours, I would like to thank you for sharing my practice and for spending this time taking care of yourself. And through this practice, inviting peace into your heart, and with more peace in our hearts, we become more useful, more helpful, more kind, more giving. So, I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you. Namaste.